Hey, Christ family. Welcome back. All right, I wanted to just get back on here because after I watched the last video, I realized that this guy's name, Peh-ree, the Maggid, is actually where we get our English term, fairy tale. Haha. Because they had a breakdown on his name. So I'll take you there really quick. So we were reading in the Holy Megillah Nasarean Bible that the Hebrew Nasarean name, Pehri, it means fruit, and that it's pronounced Peh-ree. Haha. Yeah, Peh-ree. And that this word magic in this terminology means to tell. Haha. Okay. And so right there, Peh-ree tell. That's what Peh-ree the Maggid means. It's a Peh-ree tale. And so I hope you guys can see that because it's freaking amazing. We learned a lot about Peh-ree, that he was the very first spark created from the dance of the Lord and the Lady. And so, of course, all this time later, he would be called a fairy tale, and it would be something that was make believe in our psyche. It's the same thing I'm saying about saying the words Doubting Thomas is probably dangerous. They have programmed us to speak, think, and know death and decay. So, man, see that? Fairy tale. And if you don't believe it, I actually looked up the word etymology, fairy, because in English we can use a P or an F, all right? And so a little bit of this says that it was actually fairy actually meant the land of the Fae. And that is exactly what Pehri said about Madheba. The highest assembly of archangels of Madheba consists of two ranks. The first rank consists of the never fallen out of heaven first cherubim of Madheba, the holy Aleph. Okay? And you could read the rest, but I just wanted to show you that he was talking about the land of the Fae. This fairy was telling us. And isn't that beautiful to know that the very first sparks, the dance of creation, the beings were very magical, especially those that have never fallen. That's what it explains. That's the first rank, never fallen out of heaven. First cherubim. And then the second rank are those of us through many ups and downs, many lives and many worlds, sometimes falling, but always rising again, finally ascend, so as to reside in Madheba, working and playing with the archangels of the first rank, until sent on a mission of mercy to a lower heaven or a contested world. Talking about the Nazarim. We're going to talk about them today because today we're going to read a little bit more from that chapter 100. And it is going to talk about those two arms of priesthood. One is revealed and the other is hidden. And you best believe, haha, it's never fallen either. That hidden arm of the Lord and the Lady. So let's get over there now. Okay, so we're back in chapter 100 now, and we're going to read about this guy here, Zabadiel, and his wife, Jahleel, okay? And this is Yahshua's uncle on his father's side. So this would be Joseph's brother. It's going to tell us that. But listen to what Yahshua says to him in verse 129 on page 1012, Holy Megillah, and it reads, When Yahshua appeared to Zabadiel, the brother of the Lord's father, Joseph, he said, Uncle, will you do something for me? Zabadiel replied, You know my answer. Of course I will. The Lord said, I ask that you serve as my apostle of the hidden arm to the revealed arm. Whoa. So the zero Ani star is the hidden arm. And as he said, they wish for you to work closely with them as one of them and to communicate on their behalf to the mother temple of the Zeroa Negala, the revealed arm. Wow, 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 what an honor. We're at verse 133. The Lord also told Zabdiel, your scroll, including your account of some of the teachings of Zebulon, will grace the new edition of the Holy Megillah. Also, as I will communicate to Tehillah, I ask that the two of you remain as leaders of the Nasareans of the Mount Carmel region, but to also take on the leadership of our new mission in the area of Lake Galilee. You may share with her all that I have asked of you. Later tonight, I will appear to her. When Yahshua appeared to Tehillah, the poet, wife of Zabdiel, he said, Tehillah, did Zabdiel share with you that which I have asked of him? Tehillah replied, yes, Lord, and I support him in his acceptance of the apostleship. Yahshua said, Tehillah, I ask that you also accept an apostleship. I ask that you serve as my apostle of Nasarean poetry. I ask that through Philip's messenger service, you regularly submit poems to the new teaching epistles called Essene Path that Yohanan will oversee. The poem that you recited at the funeral of my father Joseph will, with your blessings, be included in the new edition of the Holy Megillah. Jahleel replied, you have my blessings, and I am honored that my poem for Joseph will be in the Megillah. Yahshua said, also, as I told Zabdiel, I ask that the two of you serve as leaders of the Nazareans of the Mount Carmel region. Now we have to jump over to chapter 68 and read about Zabdiel, because this is where the order of the Immaculate Conception is going to come in, and we may jump over there. So this is on page 834, and this is where Nabia, the Yaiyrah, had placed her hands upon the crown of Zabdiel. And look at that. His name is Abadel, but it's with the Z, Zabdiel. The wizard. I love that. And she said, there is good reason for your good relations. You, Zabdiel, being the brother of Joseph, like him, are of a bloodline that reaches back unbroken to the beginning of the order of the Immaculate Conception. Although from an exalted lineage, you also share the sweet humility of Joseph. Man, I told you these are trusted travel companions, and she says, you bend low and are raised high. Let that be a lesson to us all. Humble yet exalted, Zabdiel. And now we know that he got initiated into the hidden arm, the Zeroa Nice Star, another branch of the Nazarim. And most of them are immortal. We got Queen of Sheba. I'm not going to go down the list. So some are immortal, and some are those never fallen Alephim that Peh-ree was telling us about. Very telling, Peh-ree. Yes. You got to get up on your Peh-ree tails. I love that. All right, back to chapter 100. We read what he said to his aunt Rosha. I wanted to show you this account in the book of Luke, chapter 24, verse 43. It says that in Jesus's post-resurrection appearances to his disciples, he reassures them of his physical presence by eating a piece of boiled fish in front of them. So that is completely opposite of the Yahshua in the Holy Megillah. He taught against eating animals, okay? But it's this other part that I really kind of want to talk about now, which is, it said that by him eating that fish in front of them, it's affirmed that he is not a ghost, but was a risen, glorified body. capable of normal human activities. Okay. And so that's completely opposite of what we keep hearing in the Holy Megillah. And let's go over there really quick because at the end we're going to read from that order of the Immaculate Conception because you'll see this is almost word for word right here out of the order of the Immaculate Conception. They twisted it up a little bit, glorified body, normal human. Uh-huh. We just make sure you stay to the end. So here is Aunt Rosha. We're back in chapter 100. She's pretty, ain't she? She's a chef. And so Yahshua said to her in verse 144, and that made me think of the soul food. I don't know why. But when Yahshua appeared to Rosha, the sister of Zabdiel and Joseph, he said, Aunt Rosha, if only my etheric body ate physical food, I would ask that you make me that roasted garlic and artichoke hearts dish one last time. Yahshua and Rosha both laughed. Yahshua said, Nebiah will have to eat it for me. Okay, again, they both laughed because he was in his etheric resurrection body and he didn't need no food. Okay, especially no fish. And all of these people, we're going to find out, were in that order of Immaculate Conception. So they were all vegetarian. Okay, so nobody over here was eating fish. But he ends up saying to her in verse 148, your scroll, Rose of Mysteries, will be included in the new edition of the Holy Megillah. You will have the honor of serving the last words of Neviah or Nebiah, the Yaiyrah, to the future readers of the Megillah. These are prophecies that Yahshua spoke out of his mouth, so they're very important too, and they're coming true. He says to her in verse 150 that she was going to work closely with Nebiah, the Yaiyrah, until she departs this incarnation and will then continue her work at the Mother Temple. He said, I name you apostle to Nebiah, the Yaiyrah. So that must mean she went on to become the next Yaiyrah. I'm not for sure, but I would think so. And it says somewhere else in this Holy Megillah that no one becomes Yair just by happenstance. It's through many, many, many lifetimes of service that you become the Yair of the Nasarean nation. And so I'm assuming she did. And now we're going to read from that scroll, the order of the Immaculate Conception, so you guys can understand how these highly evolved souls, beautiful souls came through, and how some of them probably continue to practice this order and teach it to the generations after the crucifixion. So we really got to start to know yourself, man. That's why this whole thing was hidden. That's why we don't know anything about the order of the Immaculate Conception, because it's a way of life, a lifestyle. Let's go. Let's go read about these lifestyle. So here we are, chapter 3. I'm very excited to read this, and I may read it too fast, and I apologize, but we're going to get through it, and then I'm going to say a few more things, since this is getting long. It says here on page 353. So we're starting here in verse 361. It says, Lo, the word immaculate means pure. Yea, and for the Lord and Lady to incarnate in human bodies, purified vessels must be prepared. This scroll given by Gabriel declared that this was to be accomplished over 7 generations. According to Gabriel, if a family line performs 7 consecutive generations of Immaculate Conception, the 7th generation would see the birth of vessels pure enough to make possible the incarnations of the Lord Christ and Lady Christ. Behold, an Immaculate Conception is a pure conception in spiritual love by a man and a woman made pure by the teachings and the disciplines of the order of the Immaculate Conception. It says, Behold, not all who walk the path of the order of the Immaculate Conception will choose to make babies, for not all are called to the path of parenthood. And of them who choose to make babies, not all will choose to do so according to the most rigorous disciplines of immaculate conception. But even those not called to make babies may benefit from the teachings and disciplines of the order. I hope you guys are beginning to see why this order was hidden from us. For lo, every Nazarean is called to purify the seven Sephiroth within and to birth the Christ within. But for them who feel called to birth a child according to the most rigorous precepts of Immaculate Conception, yea, and to raise the child in the ways of the order of the Immaculate Conception, the scroll declares this: if any family line performs 7 consecutive generations of Immaculate Conceptions, the bodies of them of the 7th generation shall be fit vessels to receive the souls of the Lord Christ and Lady Christ. And at that time, the Lord and Lady will take incarnation. It says here, behold, many family lines will volunteer, and many will persist for a generation or two, and a few blessed family lines will persist unto 7 generations of immaculate conceptions. And none but Jah and Elohim will know which family lines have preserved and which have not. And into each family line that preserves for 7 generations, a great soul will incarnate. And into 2 of those family lines will incarnate the souls of the Lord and Lady. Lo, even first or second generation immaculate conceptions attract beautiful souls. And within each additional immaculate conception in a family line, the beauty of the incarnating soul is magnified. Yea, to whatever degree parents purify themselves before conception, the purity of the soul attracted to the womb increases. And that is a foundational precept of the order of the Immaculate Conception. It says here, let not those family lines that stumble for a generation or more dismay, thinking we are tainted, for lo, any generation that embraces these disciplines for even 1 generation may see the birth of a holy child. Everyone, even celibates and the aged, are called to birth a holy child within the manger of their own heart. And even a child born to loathsome parents may become a saint. Wherefore no one should despair. In truth, every child is a holy child and should be so treated, and that is a precept of the order of the Immaculate Conception. For lo, only when each babe born on earth is treated as a holy babe will earth become a heaven. And every man and woman who stumble, but again embraces these disciplines, may yet be Christed. Hallelujah. And that is a precept of the order of the Immaculate Conception. Nevertheless, it is a spiritual truth that the more purified the parents are and the more spiritualized the conception is, the greater the likelihood of attracting to the womb a highly evolved soul. Okay? And this is the purpose of the order of the Immaculate Conception. Yea, all them who embrace the disciplines of the order of the Immaculate Conception will attract to the womb highly evolved souls. And the family lines that continue 7 generations will open the door into this realm for the purest souls to incarnate. Even our God and Goddess imminent, the Lord Christ and Lady Christ. For behold, King Jahdeel and Queen Janah come as man and woman with their glory veiled. Okay, here's kind of where I said that was taken word for word. Listen, it says they will limit their powers to that which a perfected man and woman are capable of, that they may demonstrate the potential of the human being. Okay? And it was to show the fullness of human potential. Okay? Now here is where they were already wearing the purified bodies before his crucifixion. Okay? This is where they kind of twisted things up. It says they will wear bodies purified by 7 immaculate conceptions, for a lesser body could not hold powerful vibrations of their souls, even though their glory be veiled. Okay. And it says, yea, the Lord and Lady will take incarnation into the 2 family lines that maintain the highest degree of purity for 7 generations. For lo, even amongst those who maintain the disciplines of Immaculate Conception, some do so to a higher degree. So that line of Joseph, Zabadell, Rosha, those that we read about this video, they maintained it. She said it. Nabiya said it, unbroken. And only Jaja and Elohim knew which line uh, had maintained that purity. Okay. And so they were wearing, the Lord Christ and the Lady Christ were wearing some purified bodies, but it took 7 generations. Okay. But we're going to go on and drop this here because it's just a lot. And I just wanted to show you about this order of the Immaculate Conception. So I wanted to show you that again, what Nebiah said about Zabadiel. There is a good reason for your good relations. Being the brother of Joseph, are like him of a bloodline that reaches back unbroken to the beginning of the order of the Immaculate Conception. Okay. And his daughter is Orah. Remember, she wrote a scroll. She probably wrote more than just that scroll too, guys. So you got to think about this now, and you know where we're at right now. We're post all of these prophecies, and we can see where and when and how they were fulfilled. And so this is just an immaculate time, because the conceptions of our minds are just being filled with truth. And as creators, we need that. We need this so we can begin to manifest the reality of what the truth brings. You know, real deal, holy feel. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.